Welcome to the Cinema Gold Show, your home for all movie, TV, streaming, and other film news from around the industry. Join us as we dive into the latest headlines. Welcome back to the Cinema Gold Show. I'm your host, Larry Elise. Today we're diving into the latest box office news and movie news from around the industry. Our first main topic is Eternals, Barry's Dune, and the rest of the competition at the box office. Apparently there's still some juice in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Who could have seen that coming? In case you can't tell, that's sarcasm. After all, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings stands as one of the most successful movies of the nightmare pandemic era. So it seems like Marvel movies are still going to be big no matter what, provided you don't release them day and date on Disney+, which is a bit of a box office killer. But we're not talking about Shang-Chi. We're talking about Eternals, which opened to an impressive 71 million this weekend, possibly indicating that reviews and pandemics don't really matter to Marvel fans when it comes to opening weekends. The movie is on pace to make a ton of cash both domestically and globally. That 71 million take is also more than enough to utterly destroy all of the competition, with Dune dropping the second in its third week with only 7.6 million. It's made nearly 84 million, so it's doing okay, but it probably won't catch No Time to Die and Venom, Let There Be Carnage, which made 6 million and 4 million respectively, bringing them to 143 million and 197 million. That parenthetical means that yes, this is yet another week where we get to hem and haw about whether or not a second movie will cross 200 million this year. It should, but who knows. Moving down the list, Wes Anderson's The French Dispatch is actually moving up the list, expanding the 417 more theaters and making about the same amount of money it made last week. But that was enough to lift it from 10 to 6 on the chart. Halloween Kills fell hard, as you might expect since the spooky season is over, and Kristen Stewart Spencer debuted modestly with 2.1 million on a limited rollout. Of course, true fans know that the real battle this week was between Antlers and Last Night in Soho. The two movies opened with the same amount of money last week, and this week they remain relatively neck and neck. Antlers made a cool 2 million, while Soho fell back to 1.8 million. Nothing that can't be overcome, especially with Soho's wider rollout, but we look forward to keeping an eye on this thrilling battle for weeks to come. As always, these numbers come from Box Office Mojo. You can head over there to see a more detailed breakdown of the numbers. I'll have a link in the description for those numbers. And our second main topic is Emilio Estevez finally breaks the silence on the Mighty Ducks Game Changers exit. And the news of his exit was really shocking to me. I mean, I'm a huge Mighty Ducks fan. I even have a Mighty Ducks jersey. And so his departure from Game Changers is kind of sad for me. I mean, he's Gordon Bombay, like the face of the Mighty Ducks. Anyways, it was recently revealed that the franchise star, Emilio Estevez, would not be returning for the second season of Game Changers on Disney+. This news was met with shock from fans of the show, including myself, who've already said they won't be watching the new episodes without him when Season 2 debuts. Needless to say, Emilio's exit is a big loss for Game Changers, and it's going to affect the show in a major way moving forward. Shortly after the news broke, there were rumors spreading that the actor had left due to refusing to take the COVID vaccine. Hoping to clear the air, Estevez wrote a lengthy statement published by Deadline that completely explains his side of the story, noting he feels just as disappointed as the fans that he won't be returning, insisting that he's not anti-vax. He says the problem was really with a contract dispute combined with the dreaded creative differences. He said, quote, "I'm not anti-vax, full stop. I take this pandemic very seriously, and I'm often teased about my continued following of the safety protocols and my abundance of caution. I want to address what transpired and clear up some falsehoods which appeared in an article regarding my decision to depart the Mighty Ducks Game Changers. In the final analysis, this was nothing more than a good old-fashioned contract dispute, and not, as some would believe, an anti-vaccine position." Emilio Estevez goes on to explain his own experience with COVID-19, which he contracted after shooting the pilot for Game Changers in February of last year. According to Estevez, he was actually taking the pandemic seriously and was reluctant to return to work last fall for safety concerns. He says the producers tried to convince him he had natural immunity and would be the safest one on set. Ultimately, he reluctantly started filming when he was warned about possible legal consequences. In his statement, Estevez explained in detail how he suffered from long-haul syndrome in the months after his diagnosis, but he soldiered on by putting his own health to the side for the sake of the fans and the show. He says the goal was to try and preserve the show morale and be a leader, but he seems to suggest that the production had essentially bullied him into filming the series when he wasn't certain that it was safe. With that, he disputes the rumors that it all comes down to a vaccination refusal. He said, quote, "The anonymous sources, producers, and showrunners all know the truth. Simply put, I am anti-bully. My exit from the show was due to a myriad of creative differences. Any other narrative is false. To the fans of the franchise, I'm as disappointed as you are. To my Ducks cast and crew, have a wonderful season 2 on the show, and please know that I will miss you all. It was an honor and thrill to be able to return as the iconic and beloved character Gordon Bombay, a character which has been a celebrated benchmark in my 40-year career. And I thank the studio and the producers for creating an opportunity to allow me to visit him again. Ducks fly together." The Game Changers had previously been renewed for Season 2, and the series will presumably write out the Gordon Bombay character in between seasons. And of course, you can catch the first season on Disney+. In our final segment, one of our new favorites is the Poddex segment, where we pull a card from the virtual movie night deck available on the Poddex app. And today's question is, what are your 3 favorite movies from the 90s? And it's actually a tough one, but I'm going to go with The Usual Suspects, Pulp Fiction, and Reservoir Dogs. So now we want to know what your 3 favorites are from the 90s. Let us know in the comments. And that's all we have for this episode of the Cinema Gold Show. You can follow us on Twitter at Cinema Gold Show and on Instagram at The Cinema Gold Show. And find us on Facebook at The Cinema Gold Show. And if you want to support the show, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/cinemagold. Or you can become a Patreon or a patron at our Patreon by going to patreon.com/cinemagold. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care. You have been listening to The Cinema Gold Show. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on all your favorite podcast platforms, as well as support the show by buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/cinemagold.